Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Nat Chat. I'm Nat Eliason, and as you know, we're exploring what to do as a college student or recent graduate who feels like they were let down by the college system and is trying to figure out exciting work opportunities, things they can go after in this new work world. In this episode, I'm joined by Dan Witmer and Brandon Epstein, who together are Zen Dude Fitness. I met Dan and Brandon a bit over 2 years ago now when I was visiting them in Colombia, and they were just starting this business at that point. It's a coaching and fitness and health, essentially like lifestyle brand, specifically focused on jump rope for fat loss and health. And since then, when they were just starting out, obviously they really had not much of a brand. Now they have millions of views on YouTube. It's grown into a massive business for them. They've been able to move to LA, start doing these meetups all around the country, and it's been a really inspiring story. They took this thing that was a passion and interest for them, jumping rope, being healthy, having fun, and they've really helped other people improve their own health and built a very successful business for themselves while doing it. They're also just super fun guys to hang out with, and we had a lot of fun during this interview. So let's welcome on Dan and Brandon, and be sure to check out Zen Dude Fitness on YouTube and everywhere else after the episode. Dan, Brandon, welcome to the show.
Nat Chat.
So happy to be chatting with the Nat on the Nat Chat.
How many people do that at the beginning?
You guys are the first one. So it's going to be a fun episode. I've been excited to do this one. This is the first three-person Nat Chat, so that's going to be exciting. And I feel like what you guys are working on is a really cool story for listeners to hear, and both of your backstories that brought you there. So I think just to start off, like, what is Zen Dude Fitness? What are you guys working on right now?
All right, Dan, you tell them what Zen Dude Fitness is.
Zen Dude Fitness. What we do is we teach jump rope on the internet. So Zen Dude Fitness is a company that is all about teaching people how to jump rope, how to do tricks jumping rope, how to lose weight jumping rope, and primarily under the bigger umbrella of just teaching people an alternative way to lose body weight and also to have fun. We really wanted to put the concentration of Zen Dude Fitness as just a great way to get in shape, but also putting the fun back into fitness and accepting a lot of people into our community, as opposed to being a divided community or saying, I'm a CrossFitter or a runner or something like that. We wanted to find a way to bring the fun element back into fitness so that it could be more sustainable for the future.
Because what's really funny is that a lot of people think about jump rope as like something that either kids do or like boxers or professional fighters do. And that's actually perfect, because that's right on point. They should think about it that way, because kids do it because it's super fun and it's engaging and it gets you in the present moment, enjoying yourself. And then boxers and pro fighters do it because it's an incredible conditioning tool. It's like the most efficient way to condition your body and lose body fat. And so we're just running with that. And we're like, hey guys, do you want to have fun? Do you want a really efficient way to lose body fat? Jump rope.
Jump rope.
Jump rope.
Jump rope. Well, this is your guys' full-time job now, right?
Yeah.
So what does that look like on a daily basis for you?
I mean, there's a lot of things, but I would say like the main thing that we do is we make YouTube videos. And from there, we sell like a number of products and courses and things like that. But the main thing that we focus on is producing the best content that we possibly can surrounding jump rope. And even on a greater spectrum, producing content that is going to make people just have more fun when they exercise.
And your YouTube channel has grown a ton. How long has Zen Dude Fitness been around? 2 years?
Almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years, yeah.
And so how many like views and everything are you guys up to now? Because it's grown a ton since you started it.
Oh, I don't know.
Like 11.5 million views, I think.
11.5 million views.
Jeez.
About to hit like 135K subs at this point.
But it's funny though, like Nat, like we've talked about this a bunch. Like I think our first full year, we only had 1,000 subscribers, but I also think the views were like less than 1 million. The first whole year was like really small. Yeah.
It was a grind. And for listeners of Nat Chat, we have to give Nat a lot of credit for the growth of our
because he did not tell us to say this.
He didn't.
No.
Because Nat is a genius when it comes to like SEO. And he just gave us this awesome course that he made on SEO to take. And we took his course we're like, oh, okay. So that's how people find you on the internet. And we apply what we learned from Nat into our YouTube channel. And that's when we started to see the hockey stick effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was cool to see you guys take that from being very Google focused to bring it to YouTube. But you didn't initially start with purely jump rope stuff, right? It was a mix of other things as well. So how did you end up deciding to focus just on that area?
Yeah, just to get back to the Zen Dude part of it, I think like it's important to note like the company is focused on jumping rope, but the Zen Dude portion of that, why it's named that, is really, I think Brandon, and Brandon can add what he wants to, but I think it's like Brandon and I's kind of artistic expression of how we wanted to live our life. You know, jump rope is the tool that allows us to be free and roam the world and have the body we want. And the Zen Dude part of that is the being free, roaming the world, leveling yourself up mentally so that you can live a more fulfilled and just less chaotic life, basically.
Well, and just touching on that point, when you guys started the business, you moved to Colombia for a while to help get it off the ground, right?
Yes.
How did you make that decision? And I guess why?
So I would say winter 2014, winter 2014, Dan and I were like just chilling in his apartment in Austin, Texas. And we were like playing around the idea. We're like, yeah, man, we're Zen dudes. We should make a company called Zen Dude Fitness.
Yeah, it was kind of a joke.
It was a joke kind of with that idea of like what that would become. And then I was at the time dealing with like, you know, kind of a failed business on the internet. And so I moved to Medellin, Colombia that March, and I was there for 6 months figuring out what the next step for my life was going to be. And then Dan and I just kept in contact throughout those 6 months, and we just kind of talked. And he started, I had a podcast at the time, and Dan was on the podcast like more and more consistently. And eventually I think we got to a point where we were like, yo, let's do this. And Dan quit his job. Well, he had already quit his job.
Yeah.
A little bit before that. And then he moved to Colombia.
I think what it was like we were just two guys who went through our own struggle, both mentally and physically. And when we came out on the other side, we were like, man, I feel like there's a lot of dudes who go through this and who maybe would benefit from us just being not like this super alpha, like, hey, you got to do this to be a man, but like really sharing our story of like, yo, it's tough to be a 24-year-old guy sometimes. Like it's a new kind of world. And this is how me and this guy, that's why Brandon and I think first bonded, because we had a very similar story. And so like when we came together on that, we were like, well, if you experience this and I experience this, there's got to be like dozens, millions of other guys who benefit from hearing that story. So that's really how it like came together initially.
Yeah. And what was that story for both of you? Because you both initially, you've not always been like these crazy fit guys, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we both went on our own like fitness journeys and lost, I think like 130 pounds collectively between the two of us. And so we both played college football and we're just kind of on the path for a while. And when I graduated college, like shortly before that, I lost a bunch of weight, but did it in a way that I didn't enjoy. And so as I was progressing through life, I was learning more and more about nutrition and exercise and just getting more awareness around like what actually was required to create a lean physique and to feel mentally good on a consistent basis. And at the same time, Dan can share more about this, but he was going through his own metamorphosis, working his corporate job after college and having a friend introduce him to jump rope and going through a big weight loss transformation of his own. And I think we just found each other at the right time where we were both had already lost a bunch of weight and then realized through our own journeys that, whoa, the only thing required to actually get lean and to feel good consistently is to consistently jump rope like a few times a week and to eat a certain way. So like focus on the amount of food we're eating. And we're like, why doesn't everyone know this? In the words of Nat, like, why is there so much artificial complexity out there? Let's bring this to the people. Let's tell them how simple and fun this can be.
All the bad noise.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I had like Brandon said, my background was like I was working for a big software company and was on the more corporate type path. And my story stems from like feeling kind of this guilty feeling around having this great job and this supposedly great life from the outside and just being super unhappy and feeling like, man, am I a brat? Like I worked really hard for this and I don't enjoy this at all. Like I don't care about making the money. Like it's not, I just like don't enjoy my life on a day-to-day basis. And so that was like the first time that I initially started like searching for those answers of like, how would I create, okay, I want to do things like travel the world, but realistically, like I have to have an income to do that. So what things can I do that would provide me with that income? And like during that time, I also went through this weight loss, like 70-pound weight loss transformation where I was like, on the road and traveling for work, but I was able to jump rope and get fit doing that. So that was like when those two things came together, the unhappiness of my current situation and the transformation, I was like, oh, this is like the idea. This is the thing that could earn me income, helping people that were in my situation, that have jobs and are busy and stuff like that, helping them get fit in a fun way. And that, kind of playing into that dream of like just having more freedom.
Were you doing software development or you had a software company?
No, I was working in sales for a software company.
Okay. So what made you like make the jump from doing that job that you didn't like to, how did you decide to make that move from leaving that lucrative thing to, because for a while you were basically incomeless, right?
Yeah. So like the first thing, I remember one night I was living in, my room in New York looked very similar to the backdrop you have right now.
Oh, dude, your room in New York. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I was thinking of your place in Austin. Your place in Austin was great.
Oh yeah, no, not that one. This is much different. I remember like sitting in my room on the Upper East Side of New York, and I was like, mentally, I think snapped one night, and not like in a negative way, but I was just like, I just give up. I'm like, I don't want to do this, because I was like, I think like I had been out to a meeting with one of my senior managers or something, and they're a great person, but like late 40s, and I was sitting there and listening to them, and I was just like, I don't want to do this at all. Like, am I going to be this person? Like, I don't think I want to do this. And so I had this mental snap, and I was just like, okay, today's the day that I have to do something about this. And I remember, I think it was, like February of either 2012 or 2013. I like told myself, okay, I had the date, like February 18th of 2014. 2014, you're going to quit your job and you're going to go in on whatever, like this passion that you want to pursue. And so for me, it was a matter of saving money for an entire year to go ahead and quit. It wasn't just like I woke up one day and was like, oh, I'm going to put my 2 weeks in and figure it out. It was like a very calculated, like first step was me snapping and being like, I need to make a change. And then the second part was making the plan. And then the third part was actually like the day that I quit. I'll never forget how amazing and like scared shitless I felt on that day. Like when I actually walked in and I was like, yeah, I'm done. I'm out of here. And it was like, it's pretty great. I mean, like you did the same thing basically.
Sort of. I had the decision made for me before I could make it, but I definitely know the feeling. Yeah. And Brandon, what were you doing at the time before you guys linked up? What were you working on, especially between graduation and when you guys started working together?
So this is a cool interview because we have very different stories about like what we did after college. Like when I was in college, I was a college football player, and then I was just really interested in like Eastern philosophy and studying Eastern medicine. And when I was in college, I was like known as like the healer on my football team because like I learned all these like Reiki techniques around energy healing and dealing with chakras and meridians, which is like what acupuncture is based off of. I was so into helping myself and others feel and perform their best that I was trying to figure out. I was at a small school in Los Angeles, and there just wasn't any outlet for me there to like learn more about this topic. And so my senior year, I just submitted, not thinking I would get it, to this foundation to get this fellowship to do my own research, looking at the effects of a type of meditation I made up and see how that meditation would affect people's strength performance, their stress, and their overall perceived happiness. So when I was in college, I was like, this is like the coolest thing that I could imagine doing. How can I make my life this? So when I graduated college, like I had a whatever GPA, I had like a 3.4 or something like that. So, good GPA, but like, wasn't like something to brag about. It's fine. And so I graduated and I submitted to all of these postgraduate programs around sports psychology and neuroscience. And I wanted to go that route. And, with the 3.4, I didn't get accepted to any of the programs that I applied for. I kept Googling like peak performance and sports psychology. I just couldn't find anything really good on the internet. And so I was like, I had a buddy at the time who just finished college as well, who was driving back up to our hometown. We went to high school together, and we were kind of caravanning together from Los Angeles up to Oregon. And we were on the phone basically the whole time. And he was telling me about how he started his own mobile app company and he was making all this money and it was going great. And this is a dude who's like strictly business. He's a business guy. So he saw that I was really into all this peak performance stuff and meditation. And he proposed the idea is like, what if we started a company together, making mobile apps, teaching people all these mental skills, help them perform better with their mind. And so that's what we did. And over time, like we launched a company and it was immediately profitable, which is probably the worst thing that could happen to me because I thought that like business was easy. I was like 22 years old. You know, it was making passive income, not a lot of money, but the company was doing like 4 to 7K a month. And I was like, oh yeah, we just scale this up. I'm going to be a millionaire by the time I'm 25. And that didn't happen at all. It just kind of plateaued for a couple of years. And then I was like, I don't know if I'm not into like just, you know, constantly trying to optimize the back end of an app. So, and this, we outsource. I don't know how to code or anything like that. I'm not that kind of smart guy. And so after that company, my partner buying me out, and I was like trying to do something on the internet, teaching fitness type stuff, teaching peak performance type stuff. It wasn't going great. And so I did that for a couple of years until Dan and I met, and that took me into Zen Dude Fitness.
Yeah. So what was that like big inflection point where Zen Dude Fitness started doing better and making money, where you guys realized like, okay, this could actually be our full-time thing and could, you know, go well beyond just like two guys on the internet jumping rope?
I have two answers for this. The first answer, honestly, man, was right away. Like we went into this like, dude, we knew for the first year, like, of course, like, you know, we have our doubts. We had our like things that we mentally needed to like work through and just to gain more confidence to do this. But I'm very confident in saying when Brennan and I, because there was this period where we were like, maybe we want to start it, maybe we won't. And I was coming on his podcast a lot. But then like once we made the decision that I was going to move to Colombia, the first day that we actually like started it and put a video on YouTube, that day I remember like we knew that we were going to do anything to make this work. But then the second answer I really believe would be, dude, honestly, Hawaii. Like the first year in Colombia was straight up grinding. We put like, I think 150 to 175 videos up that first year. And we had like 900 subscribers. Like no one was subscribed. And we were like making money coaching and all this stuff. And then we got some help from your course. Like that's when our YouTube channel really started to grow. And then that's when we were like setting up systems and we were like, okay, this thing is now running without us doing anything. Now we just have to figure out how to like continue to grow it.
Yeah. And at that time, like up until the first year, we had like a podcast and a show. And like we hadn't fully gone all in on jump rope as well. Like we weren't as focused as we needed to be.
That's true.
And I think after about like 9 or 10 months, we were like, okay, you know what? Everything we do should just be about jump rope.
But just for some context, by the way, the reason it's the whole jump rope thing, there's this friend of mine who lived in Boston when I lived in New York. And I was trying to lose weight. And I remember I visited him in Boston and he was like, dude, you should jump rope. Because he like got really, like he was a football player as well. He got like really lean. And so I started jumping rope in New York City. So I started doing these jump rope workouts that was separate from Zen Dude before we started Zen Dude. That was called base jump. And I was just coaching people on how to lose weight with jump rope. But the reason then we came together and we're trying to do like jump rope and weightlifting and the mental side of it, performance, like peak performance. And then we both kind of just realized like there's a very clear path, open opportunity for this new sport of jumping rope to help people have more fun and get fit. So that was like just to provide more context for like, if people are asking like, how did you stumble upon jump rope? It was in New York.
One of the things you guys did recently that I thought was like surprising is you said that you stopped lifting weights entirely and you're just doing jump rope. So my first question is obviously like, haven't you lost a lot of strength by making that decision, or how does that work?
Well, fortunately for us, like we promote this physique that doesn't require that much muscle mass. It's like a soccer player, a point guard, or like a track athlete, someone who's like lean and muscular, you know, like Cristiano Ronaldo is like a great example of the physique that we promote. And so for us, like we realized that if we ate the right amount of food and had enough protein in our body and did bodyweight exercises, we could maintain the muscle mass that we've already built. And so we've been able to maintain our physiques without any weightlifting. But as like an asterisk next to this, we did lift weights for the 10 years before that, which gave us some muscle mass and basically the latitude to be able to do this and be able to stop lifting weights. Because we already had like the muscle memory. We had the mass already built.
It's also important to describe what you mean by strength, because for example, everyone always thinks of lifting weights. And yes, it wasn't just when we stopped lifting weights completely 4 months ago. I lost a ton of strength when I lost weight. I remember in football, like I would squat like 365 pounds 10 times, like no issues. And now, like, I honestly don't know if I could squat 225 pounds one time. Like, I really did lose a ton of strength, but I think it's important to note what type of strength. For example, I do a lot of hip hop dancing. Brennan does a lot of boxing. And so, like, our bodies are stronger in certain areas. Like, I might not be able to bench as much as I can, but like, we can both go down and do like a one-legged squat very easy and pop back up and have. So I think there's more, we've increased strength in other areas of our body, or we focus more on being lean, being fast, being better balance, better dynamics. But yes, with that comes like the definite, I mean, not so much I feel like for you, but for me, like I definitely noticed a decrease in my weight room strength for sure.
What do you think people get wrong about a lot of this fitness stuff most frequently? Because I'm sure you guys get tons of questions, comments, things like that from people who are trying to either get that physique or just to lose weight. So where do you see people making the most, I guess, errors in thinking or getting wrapped up in the other noise that you feel like you have to help course correct on? Because it's a huge topic and it's a huge issue, right? And I feel like everybody's interested in it to some extent.
I have one thing I want to say.
Go ahead.
Everyone is chasing other people's goals. That is the problem. No one ever stops to ask themselves, how the fuck do I actually want to look? Like, if someone said to me, like, well, people comment and they'll say, like, well, you guys don't have big arms or like, you know, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Cause like, I don't care about that. Like, I just want to have a six pack. I just want to look good when I have like a suit on and a girl like rips off my shirt, and like, I'm open about that. And I think like a lot of guys are chasing a physique that they think they need to have, when in reality, it's either a big pain in the ass to keep that physique and not very fun, or number two, like it's just not something that they really actually want. They just think they want it because there's this image that's sold on YouTube, that's sold on the internet, that all of your dreams are going to come true if your chest is this size, or if your arms are this vascular or something like that. So I think really the biggest mistake I see in people is not asking, you know, what do you actually want to do? Like, I want to hike, I want to dance, I want to jump rope, I want to spend my time outside, not in a gym. So for me, like those goals, like the way my physique looks, are aligned with the activities that I want to do.
Yeah. And I would add, what Dan said about chasing other people's goals is so on point. I think that is the biggest issue that people have. And it's because a lot of people don't have their own identity formed. You know, they don't know who they are beyond just the physical body part of like, what do I want to look like? Can't even answer. If they ask themselves a question like, who am I? They couldn't answer that question. So it's like this whole holistic look at like, who am I as a person? Like, who do I want to be? And the physical part of that is just part of the equation. It makes up who you are.
What about with the diet side of things too? Because I feel like that's another area where there's just a lot of misinformation. So I guess like, what's the high level kind of prescription that you give people for if they're trying to like get that body that they want and eat healthy and like feel good? You know, what are your thoughts around that?
First thing I would suggest people go to is there's a friend of ours named Army Leg, and he has this article called Why Clean Eating is a Myth. So just to preface what we're going to say, I think everyone should go read that, because I truly believe the biggest thing that people get wrong is like, there's still not enough information out there that says this food's bad for you and this food's not. You know what I mean? And that's a very controversial topic because everyone talks about clean eating. You can't eat any processed food or anything like that. But really, I think the biggest thing that people get wrong, or what people don't see, is that overeating is the biggest cause of death. No matter if you're eating healthy or if you're eating McDonald's, if you are eating and consuming too many calories and you are carrying around extra weight, whether that's healthy food or not, that is damaging and detrimental to your organs. And that puts a lot of stress on your organs. So we believe like, if you're just overweight, doesn't matter how you get there, that's bad for you. You know what I mean? So I think like the biggest thing that people get wrong is that it's the type of food as opposed to the amount.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So people focus on, okay, well, I should cut out gluten, or I should go vegetarian, or I should go pescatarian, or I should go vegan, or I should cut out sugar, or I should eat more fat. I should eat less fat. I should eat more carbs. I should eat less protein. I should eat more protein. Everyone thinks if they take these small little actions, it's positive and it's going to lead to a net outcome that they're happy with. But the truth is, now that you want to actually get down to tactics, the most important thing is the total amount of food that you're eating on like a day-to-day basis and really on a weekly basis, but it's easier to think about it on a daily basis. So everyone's body is expending a certain amount of energy every single day. And you don't necessarily have to worry that much about figuring out exactly how much energy your body's exerting. There's like calculators, which Nat, we can give you to put in the show notes that we give people that say, okay, what is your goal? Do you want to lose weight, gain weight, or do you want to stay the same weight? And then this calculator will give you the calories, so the total amount of energy that you need for the day to reach that goal, along with breaking out those calories into macronutrients, which are carbohydrates, fats, and proteins. And so really what this calculator gives you is the ability to eat the right amount of food for your body. And that is where that's the money right there. That's the most important thing.
And definitely, I do want to say too that quality, Brennan and I always talk about this, quality of food does matter. Like eating McDonald's versus eating better ingredients, like that does matter. But the thing that people don't understand is that everyone's body truly is different. So making blanket statements like fat is bad, sugar is bad, is actually a very illogical practice. And it really hurts people because you have all these people who feel so strongly about like we don't eat breakfast. Like some people lose their mind. They're like, how can you be a fitness person who doesn't eat breakfast? Like you're the devil. Like you're going to hell. Because the main problem is that doesn't sell products. What sells products is demonizing something and then creating a product around that to help you cut that thing out. So if the demon is fat, then it's really easy to sell products that say like no fat diets or no carb diets and stuff like that, which is unfortunate. But I think everyone needs to understand that like different things are going to work for different people, but eating too much food is bad for everyone.
Yeah. And this is where like the whole Zen Dude part of Zen Dude Fitness comes in, is like, we're like, hey, we've looked, the most clear research says out there that the total amount of food that you're eating is what matters most. So focus on that. But we're Zen Dudes. We honestly just want you to have the best possible life possible. So if you're doing the ketogenic diet, or if you're doing a vegetarian diet or something like that, and you are very happy with the results that you get, you're happy with your body, you're happy with the way you feel, awesome, do that. Keep doing it. Like, who cares what modality you use to get there? We're just saying like, this is the easiest, most simple way that we've seen to get there. If you found something, like, that's cool too.
And also, again, going back to artificial complexity, focus on the things that are going to provide the highest return. Eating the right amount of food is much more important. You should focus more of your headspace on that than am I eating grass-fed versus non-grass-fed. Like that's such, even if there is a difference, it's so acute that if you spend your day making all of those little tiny decisions and like, oh, you shouldn't eat this, but that, whatever, then you're going to end up forgetting the really important thing, which is the amount.
Because what's going to kill you first? Like eating meat that's not grass-fed or overeating in general? Well, we know the answer is overeating in general, looking at the fact that a third of the world is obese or overweight. So like, it's pretty clear that like number one thing you need to deal with is making sure you're not overeating.
Yeah, I suppose we should probably define artificial complexity really quickly for anyone listening who hasn't heard the term. It's essentially like what the example you guys just gave. It's when you focus on these really minute details, a lot of them that somebody else made up because they needed to push out a new article for Men's Health magazine, instead of focusing on the bigger issue, which seems like to you guys is really just food quantity and getting pretty close to the macros, right? So as long as you're eating well, right, 80% of the time and maintaining your macros, it's like, sure, you can have ice cream once in a while. I think you guys did the pie challenge, where you had pie every day for a month.
Cake challenge.
Or the cake challenge. It was the cake challenge. Yeah. And maintained your bodies.
If you really think about it, I don't want to sound too vague, but I think the Zen Dude philosophy is simplicity, which can sometimes be confused with being vague, but logically just think about it. It's pretty obvious that real food is real for a reason. It's good for you and it's real. Most of your diet should be comprised of, like, I feel like I don't need to tell people this, like most of your diet should be vegetables, fruits, lean meats, things that no one else has touched and messed with. And then if you have like a extra 30% in there, like let's be honest, that extra 30%, we use that like almost every day to eat some kind of like treat or like ice cream or like a donut or something like that, because the rest of our diet is literally green juices, salads, chicken, all the healthy food that everyone talks about. It's all about just having that balance. If you can give your body mostly real food and what it needs, I'm not concerned with like the rest of it. Like it's all about the fun. Like you have to have a good lifestyle.
Explain the no breakfast thing to people who are listening who might not be familiar with it. Because obviously I've been on that train with you guys forever, but I feel like it is one of those weird fitness health things that's still very contentious.
Yeah, well, actually last year, I believe last January, the government officially made this big announcement. Well, actually, it wasn't a big announcement. It was a pretty small announcement.
Dude.
But
big in your world.
Yeah, right? They discreetly were like, oh, you guys, so for the last 30 years or so, we've been telling you that you should eat breakfast because if you don't, you're more at risk to gain weight and be at risk for all these other health challenges. And they're like, none of that's true. Yeah, it's not true. Looking at the research the last like 30 years or so, we can't definitively say that there's any negative side effect of eating breakfast versus not eating breakfast. So big picture things, it doesn't matter whether you eat breakfast or not. It's about how much food you're consuming your entire day. Yes, there are so many benefits of fasting, but for me, I just think about the fact that if I don't eat breakfast, which my body's now accustomed to do, I can go eat a lot more food for lunch and dinner, and that makes me happy.
Yeah. And I think, just a quick side note, I think it is a crime. Like I'm actually still a little bit, you can probably tell I'm a little bit pissed off. That article, we didn't see anything, like someone forwarded me that article and I was like, this should be national news right now. What the hell?
I had no idea that came out, and I follow this stuff pretty closely.
In the same article, there was another study saying the government openly said you can have as many eggs as you want because saturated fat is not a thing. I was like, dude, this has been plaguing people to the point that like family members literally get in arguments about their kids like not eating breakfast. It's a huge problem here, and the government was kind of like, oh yeah, by the way, like,
oh, you can eat eggs and salt and not eat breakfast.
It's fine. Yeah, it's totally fine.
I mean, there's probably a lot of people who still think that having cereal is better than having eggs, like with the yolks, right?
Oh, it's hilarious, man. So just to go into like the description, the overarching idea is that a lot of research has proved time and time again that the amount of food you consume in a day is the most important thing. And when you consume that food, your body's just going to follow whatever pattern you've given it consistently. So for example, everyone who starts intermittent fasting or everyone who first stops eating breakfast always hits us back and they're like, yo, this is not healthy at all. I feel terrible. And I'm like, yeah, because you've been eating at the same time 3 times a day for basically your whole life. And so you've been trained in this way to live. And so your body is not used to that. Now, since Brandon and I for the past 2 to 3 years have not been eating breakfast, I can't even get hungry before 2 p.m. because my body now thinks that like, no, like we don't eat breakfast. That's not something that Dan does to be healthy. Like he eats at 2. And so it's really about getting the overall amount of food you need in that day. But as far as when you get it, your body is going to adapt to whatever pattern you give it consistently.
Yeah, it's the homeopathic rhythms your body gets into. And we've just been trained in American society to consume meals in the beginning of your day, right when you wake up, in the middle of your day, and then in the evening. And that's like the homeopathic rhythm that your body's got into. And that's cool. And you can get to a new state of like homeostasis where your body is, again, it's reached a state of like equilibrium where it's okay with your new eating style. It just takes a little time. Some people it takes 2 weeks to feel comfortable not eating breakfast. Some people it takes 2 months, but your body will adapt because that's what the body does. It's a brilliant, incredible super machine, and it knows what's up. It's like, okay, no breakfast, cool.
Yeah, I remember when I started doing it, I think I was a senior in high school, and the first week or two were maybe kind of gnarly, but then after that, I was just like, I'm never going back. It's so nice. And it's like convenient too. And I find there's mental benefits of being fasted where you just like feel great in the morning, super productive, more focused. So I don't know, anyone who's listening who hasn't tried doing the intermittent fasting, it's worth giving it a go for at least a month or 2.
Yeah.
How do you guys do your research, by the way? Because it's such a difficult area to find good information in. So how do you know that you're getting like good data on health, fitness, exercise, anything?
I think the biggest thing is you don't always know. Like we found a few certain philosophies that we truly believed in, and then we went out and tested them on ourselves and basically realized like what works for us might not work for everyone, but we're going to tell you how we function optimally. And these things like the intermittent fasting and whatnot, that's how we function optimally. And I feel like in terms of doing research, just know that there's always going to be a body of research on either side disapproving the other. So it's really about like finding research that you believe in, that you've tested, and that you feel works for you. And no one likes that answer because that requires work, but that's the truth. You really have to figure out like what is going to be good for you.
Yeah. And the research we have looked at, it's all peer reviewed stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you find like an article that's written on Huffington Post, like you have to follow all of the hyperlinks that they put in there and follow them back and see if it links to peer reviewed research. And like we've already put all this work in the past, like, probably 3-5+ years ago, we've looked up all these things. We've read the peer reviewed research and we're like, okay, yeah, some articles say that you should eat more fats. Some say you should eat more carbs. Well, that's cool. The biggest consistent research we see is that we should just eat the right amount of food for our bodies. So like we just kind of ran with the things that like had the most consistency, made the most logical sense for us. And then we tested ourselves, got the results, made programs that, over what I think like 1,500 people have been through our programs now. They've all got incredible results. And so you kind of keep building momentum after you see your results and the results of people you work with.
What about on like the business side of things with you guys growing the YouTube channel and, the whole Zen Dude Fitness business? How have you guys been figuring that out? Because I mean, neither of you were really videographers, or I don't think we even have a good name for YouTube celebrity yet. Whatever initial skill set that is. I mean, how have you guys been learning all of this? Because, over the last 2 years, you've really grown it from, two guys hanging out in Colombia with a few hundred subscribers to this millions of people watching and following your programs. How have you been learning that along the way?
Just grit,
Yeah. Just doing the thing.
Just doing the thing. We have these tattoos on both of our arms, and Dan has on his fingers as well that says do the thing. And there's always these moments in our business where we don't know how to do things. And like one of the biggest ones that stands out to me personally, I think Dan has one of these as well, is last summer, Dan just kind of taught himself how to edit. Well, a few years ago, Dan taught himself how to edit video. And then last summer, we realized that we were getting the highest return on our investment of time through making videos. And I was just like, okay, I have to learn how to edit videos. Like I don't have a choice. I don't know how to do it. And so I just started watching Dan over his shoulder, saw what he did, and then started doing it. And we were able to like double the production of the videos we were getting out, and the business followed that. I was like, oh, more video content. Well, that's the lever that's doing the best for your business. So your business is going to grow now. And it's always been that. It's always been, we don't know how to do accounting, or we don't know how to do edit videos, or we don't know how to optimize our Instagram. And we just go and try to find, Google things. We look things up on YouTube. We talk to friends like you, and we find the answer by trial and error.
Yeah, like I know for those of I'm guessing a lot of maybe your listeners watch like Gary Vee and stuff. It like he has this bit where he talks about like that we live in the best time, and it's so true. Like if you own especially an online business or something, there's so many people who feel crippled, like, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know how to do that. It's like, just type it into Google. There are going to be 10 people that pop up on YouTube that are going to tell you precise information how to do this thing. And you just have to learn. And I think a lot of people, like for us, we still run, even as we're continuing to grow, and like now we're like hiring people. Now we have a team and stuff, but we're still pretty lean. It was because it was like we didn't have a choice. Like we were in Colombia. Like we weren't like shopping around trying to get people to fund us. Like we were like, we just have to learn all of this. And so we just put in the work.
How did you make the money work in the beginning for those first? Because I think for the first 6 months, you had almost no traffic to the videos or anything, right? So how were you surviving then?
Couple of ways. So like we also had like a podcast we were doing at times. So like we were having, maybe a few people trickle onto our email list every day, like maybe 3. And of those people, we just had a passionate small community. So we're able to like make a few $1,000s every month through doing coaching. like actually like one-on-one coaching with people, teaching them how to do nutrition and exercise. And then Dan's like savings was like the other half of like funding the business, where Dan didn't really pay himself for the first like year, basically.
Yeah.
So it was between those two things. That's how we survived. That's how we scraped by.
What were your biggest, I guess you call them mistakes or like learning points in the beginning, like stuff that you got wrong that now you look back at it and say like, oh, we should have maybe figured that out sooner, or something that other people getting into the YouTube business might be making?
Focus. Answer people's specific questions. We got on YouTube and we were like, all right, Zen Dude Fitness, jump rope, lifting weights, the mental game, all these things. No. If you're going to have success on YouTube, we firmly believe you need to find a topic and beat it to death. Like something that you really care about. And I'm not talking like a vague topic that could be many subparts. I'm like talking about pick a subpart of something and beat that into the ground. So for us, that was jump rope. We were just like, no one else is really giving this the concentration that it deserves. So we are just going to talk about jump rope until the internet thinks that jump rope and Zen Dude Fitness are just like synonymous.
What would you guys do if it like blew up tomorrow for whatever reason? What would you guys go work on, you think?
I feel like we have all the tools now. We could just do it again.
Yeah, we just do it again.
Because now we know, like it's taken us a couple of years to like start to learn YouTube, learn a little bit about Facebook and Instagram and email marketing and funnels and creating programs. It's so now we have all this knowledge, like that's the valuable part, and so we could just do it again, just take time.
Yeah, we do think about that a lot too, just because like, when you're working on a certain social platform, like you're at the mercy of that platform. So anyone who's starting a YouTube channel, that might be, I wouldn't say a mistake, but one thing I wish we would have done more of immediately was we did focus so much on YouTube. And I feel like we could have maybe added a little bit more focus on Instagram and Facebook at the same time to kind of build that at the same time as well, in case something happens to one of those platforms.
Yeah, there's always that risk. We're seeing people get demonetized on YouTube now. And I guess you guys don't make most of your money from ads, but when you rely too much on the social platform to take care of you, you do run the risk of losing that security.
Yeah, dude, it's scary right now. Like there's a lot of channels. I mean, our channel in particular has been getting hit with a lot of these like ad monetization issues because of like if we have a shirt off in a video or something like that. And that's unfortunate. But at the same time, that's okay for Brennan and I, because to be honest, we did, like you said, we set our business up so that it would be protected and not reliant. Like a lot of the videos we see on YouTube are people freaking out about ad revenue. And I do feel very lucky that that's not a main source of our income, because then you're just at the mercy of YouTube.
So how have you guys kind of hedged that bet? So you've got the courses, right? And then what else are you sending people to from the videos? So part of what I'm trying to do is like for anybody listening, I think it's interesting to hear how something that seems like it's just guys jumping around can actually be like a really big business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So 90% of our money comes from two places. Number one, selling jump ropes, the physical product. And we don't actually even sell jump ropes. Like we don't produce the jump ropes. We work with a company and we have an affiliate deal with them where we're selling their jump ropes, because we just found the best jump rope in the world. And we're like, okay, we're going to focus on making the best jump rope information in the world. Like we're going to make sure that we do everything we can to make the best videos. And then we're going to find the best jump rope product and sell that. And it's like, that's how we win. And our jump rope is the most expensive jump rope I'm pretty sure that you can get on the market, but
Probably.
it's most expensive for a reason, because it doesn't break and the other ones break, so we sell jump ropes and then jump rope courses where we teach people how to take, this information around nutrition and jumping rope and create the body they want in like a strategic fashion by following these step-by-step programs.
Yeah. And I would say too, like for anyone like listening, we're always trying to be like as helpful to the audience as possible. Like it's more than an affiliate deal. Like I don't want to get into like the specifics of it, but like we found a company that we really believed in and started an affiliate relationship. And then we've just grown that relationship into being more and more incentivized financially to work with them. And like if anyone is, I think in the internet world, it's very sexy to be like, I work with 5 brands and I have like an affiliate link for each, but they make like a very tiny amount of money from each of those links. Whereas I would recommend people like find maybe 2 companies that they feel very aligned with, and see if you can take that relationship deeper than just a simple affiliate link to where you have more equity and more sweat involved in that company doing well, basically.
Yeah. We like to think about the jump rope company as like Nike and we're Jordan, you know? Like they don't really own us, but in a way we do kind of work for them. You know, like there's no like thing that says like we're not an employee, but at the same time, we are a subdivision of this company now that is driving a very large amount of their sales in the same way like Nike became Nike in the 90s because of what they did with Jordan and launching that. And it's a good way to think about like anyone who wants to make content, find out like who could be your Nike in a way, right? If you have like a cooking show on YouTube and you're cooking all the time, maybe there's some like delivery company that like delivers like organic meat and you're like, you always use this like grass-fed meat in your cooking show. So just align really deeply with them. In every single episode, you're using their grass-fed meat. And so they're going to pay you not only affiliate commission, but they're always also going to put in other incentives to kind of align with you to get you paid even more, because you're going to have the most diehard audience that converts the best because it's integrated into what you talk about.
Yeah. Just one last thing to add to that. It is a little bit different too, because if you are specifically, I don't want to say this is the strategy you should use as an online business. More specifically, if you are a like visual influencer, so like if you have a business that runs off Instagram or YouTube, your biggest focus should be getting as much influence as you possibly can, because once you have that influence, you're able to demand more money from companies that you work with. You're able to have the ability for like other people to come and help you make products that you can sell. But the most important part that I think people miss out on is like, you should focus on the influence. Like, even if it means that your income is not very high for the first year or two, focus on just getting as much of attention on your brand as you possibly can.
You know, AKA helping the most amount of people as you can.
Yeah.
That's the aim. Because you help someone, they're down. Like whatever you're trying to sell, like they'll probably buy it because they love you so much.
That's the biggest challenge sometimes, is being able to put off making the good money until later to just focus on growing the platform. But I mean, I've heard this advice for podcasting too, right? Where if you try to monetize too early, it can kind of turn people away sometimes, right? Where it seems a little like less sincere, especially when it's a smaller group. But when you're just starting out, it's like if you can hold off on any of the harder or the more aggressive monetization until later, until like you've got that established platform, people will be like way more willing to help fund the business or fund this person that they've been enjoying learning from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do you guys want to take it from here? You know, what's the bigger goal, and how do you think about bigger goals too, beyond just the next couple weeks?
I don't know, Nat. Where do you want to take it from here? No, I mean, Dan and I have this agreement. We did this exercise called playing to win, where we understand like what we want our life to be like. You know, we want our life to constantly be fun. We want to be working on things that we enjoy. Right now, like that's shifting into Dan is like the head of production. I'm starting to write a lot more because Dan loves video and like I love writing. And so we'll see where that takes us. I'm sure as the company grows, we'll get more and more out of the content. Like we'll still make content, but it will have to be less of our time if we want to keep scaling things, just because that's how. I mean, I think we'll still make a lot of content.
Not necessarily less. We just won't be shooting videos.
Like, for example, we brought on a videographer recently, and now he's been editing our videos.
Dude.
And
so
now we have
good.
all this free time to start doing things like really focusing on the business. And so we don't know where it's going to go. Like we talk about these crazy ideas around like becoming a tech company with ideas we have. We talk about like, well, what if Zen Dude Fitness branched off from just jump rope and it became something even bigger? What if we became like a production company? We don't know. We're just going to take it and have fun with it.
I think we can both agree though. The closest analogy that we always talk about is Nike, just because like our goal is to gain as much influence. Like we view the next 5 years as like influence. Nothing else matters except getting our name out to the world and having them understand like what we are, what we represent, and then starting to build products, like physical products that people can buy. And that's where we're kind of like, okay, is it jump ropes? Is it shoes? Is it like, what is it going to be? Is it like a production arm? But I think like the overall goal that Brandon and I have always kept very consistent is we really want to inspire people to move. So the content side of that is like creating really inspiring, whether it's motivational videos or educational videos that just speaks to the new generation of fitness. People aren't going to watch like even the P90X stuff. I know that's still a very profitable business, but like, the people who respond to like our YouTube channel and how like kids interact with fitness now, there needs to be like a new way that it's done, a new way that it's talked about, a new way that the trainers interact with the audience and things like that. And so I think like for us, it's just about creating this image, like always creating this image of freedom and a fun lifestyle, and then probably just building, like products around that.
Well, here's the thing. Like, I really love the fact that like Nike is not a company now that focuses on any other metric besides like getting more people in general to like move. I shouldn't say they're not focused on any other metric, but their biggest metric is like they just want more people to exercise because they own the market so much that they know if more people exercise, more people are going to buy Nike athletic apparel. It's just like they own the market so much that they know that. So for us now, like when you type in jump rope into YouTube, it's basically just us right now. Like that may change in the future, but like we want to do that on every platform. And so we want to get to a point where all of our effort goes into how can we get more people jumping rope.
Exactly.
Because if we're trying to win that game, we turn jump rope into like this massive movement that's like as big as CrossFit, then all the details around like what this company is going to be will kind of take care of itself because we'll grow into it through this movement.
It's kind of like you don't even need existing search traffic or any of that to be there as long as you set yourself up and then help create the interest that just compounds on top of it, right? Where you start and drive that movement and then it grows the business, feeds back in, creates this really positive feedback loop for you guys. It's a really cool way of thinking about it.
And on that point, we did the research on how many people search for jump rope on YouTube and Google before we started this company. Like we saw that and we have blown all those numbers out of the way, like out of this world. Like there is no chance that we could be an account on YouTube as big as we are, focusing just on jump rope, given the amount of search traffic there was before. So like we've been creating our own market now. And so we see it's possible. So we want to keep going with this vein. We're like, okay, this is working. People like this. So let's keep on growing jump rope, which will keep on growing Zen Dude Fitness.
Yeah, which is weird because it's kind of like beneficial to tell people like we don't view other people starting jump rope channels as competition. We're like, put those keywords in, like, start the channel, like start
get
talking
more
about
views for jump rope.
Yeah, like you live in Africa, great. Tell all of Africa about jump rope. Tell, put in the work there. Cause like if we raise that collective idea that this is a cool, fun alternative way to work out, then we think that like that's how we're gonna win.
Yeah, because all these other people who have started to and will continue to make jump rope videos, we want them to win because we have the confidence that we will be the Nike of jump rope and they can be the Adidas or the Puma or whatever, and we can all win, but we plan to be the Nike of jump rope. So
I love that. I think that's an awesome note to wrap up on. Guys, thanks so much for both of you making the time to come on. This was a lot of fun. If anybody listening wants to find all the Zen Dude Fitness stuff besides just plugging Zen Dude Fitness into Google, where should they go?
ZenDudeFitness.com. I feel like our YouTube channel or Instagram are where the most active. So
at Zen Dude Fitness on Instagram and then Zen Dude Fitness on YouTube.
Perfect. Well, we'll be sure to link to all of that and everything you guys mentioned. And just thanks again, guys. This is a lot of fun.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, brother.
Good to be on.
All right. Talk soon. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Nat Chat. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe to Nat Chat in iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. Second, if you're trying to take advantage of some of the information from this episode, be sure you check out the show notes at nateliason, nateliason.com/podcast, and find a friend, because implementing a lot of this stuff is much easier if you have somebody to do it with. And finally, if you enjoyed this episode and you've been enjoying other episodes of the podcast, please leave it a review on iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you listen to your casts so that more people can find it. This is the best way for it to get some more exposure and to make sure that I can keep bringing these episodes to you. With that, thank you and have an awesome rest of your day.